Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Imperium magazine. Now, as per usual, if you like these videos, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course drop a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys, and it goes an absolute massive way to help the channel too. Now, this week my issue is early, but we are on issue 21 of Imperium magazine, and we get the first sprue for our Skitarii Rangers from the Adeptus Mechanicus range, another part of the Imperium of Man. So it breaks up the repetition of getting Space Marines and just Necrons all the time. So next week we will get the second part of the sprue, which will give us enough to build 10 Skitarii Rangers. At the moment you've got about enough to build 3, in all honesty. So pretty much the vast majority of the kit is on the other sprue. So fingers crossed they get the correct sprues, unlike they did with the Necron Warriors not too long ago. But yeah, really good stuff. I didn't receive bases with this issue, and I'm presuming most people won't, because they will turn up next week. I presume, I may be wrong on that, but I'm guessing that they'll turn up when all the other bits and pieces are there as well. But yeah, really cool. I quite like the Skitarii Rangers. They have a unique look. You do have different heads for them, so if you want to, you can use the hooded heads, which are these bog standard ones, and there are ones that are full metal helmets, which you have 5 on this sprue, which also look really cool. But if you don't use them, you can utilize them elsewhere. You would need to cut off the kind of ball end that would be fitting into the actual Skitarii Ranger itself, and then you could use them as kind of scatter terrain. So like there's helmets that have been knocked off Fallen Mechanicus maybe, and that type of thing. You also get a couple of weapons that don't have pre-molded hands to them, which could also be used later on as well. So whatever you do, any parts that you don't use, keep them. You can utilize them later for scatter terrain, which would be pretty handy to have. Also, we get a delayed battle mat. So this should have been, 3 issues ago, I think? Issue 18 or issue 19, we should have been getting this. This is just a delayed battle mat. So, as you can see with the battle mat, there are some bits and pieces that look like they're meant to be 3D. Now, what will happen is, over the course of time, we will get the kits for this bits of terrain as well. So, good stuff to look out for, pretty handy to have. But yeah, really cool, and so yeah, at least it's something extra as well, which is always really good. Into the issue itself, we're of course greeted by the Skitarii Rangers themselves. So, the Skitarii Rangers are the mechanical legionnaires of and the frontline soldiers of the Adeptus Mechanicus, when I'm not knocking stuff over, armed with an array of finely crafted Martian weapons, and enhanced with a range of bionic modifications. They are capable of fighting in the most extreme conditions and securing victory for their Forge World. Now, with a Forge World's forces, they are organised into what is called a macroclade. Each macroclade is formed of 4 cohorts. Each cohort contains 4 smaller formations known as maniples. Each maniple can contain up to 6 squads of Skitarii. A lot of numbers thrown at you there. So, entirely up to you if you want to go through all that type of stuff. So if, for instance, you wanted to build up your Skitarii force and you want to go for Adeptus Mechanicus, you can have a maniple containing 6 squads if you wanted to, which is actually quite a lot of units. So that would be a grand total of like 60 Skitarii Rangers, which is a little bit nuts. But you could do it, you know, if you wanted to, entirely up to you. The Skitarii Rangers are of course equipped with some pretty cool gear. So they are of course equipped with bionics, so they possess a variety of bionic enhancements that allow them to survive in harsh conditions. Some of them will carry the galvanic rifles, which are ornate weapons which are said to be modelled on the hunting rifles of Mars's ancient past. You will see the occasional one that has a transuranic arquebus, probably pronounced very wrong by myself then, which is known for their range and precision. So essentially a sniper rifle of sorts that fires a depleted uranium round. And you will also have your leader, which is the Alpha, which are normally often armed often armed with a powerful melee weapon and deadly pistol as well. So really cool, and they look pretty damn good, don't they? Really, they look really nice. You get your battle record on the other page, so you can kind of go through and kind of build them up how you want and kind of detail your own kind of units and cohorts and everything like that. So you can include your maniple name, cohort name and MacLeod name, which you can roll your d6s to get, which is pretty cool. You can also name your alpha and your Aquabus carrier's name as well, and pretty good stuff. So you can contain your range kills, your battle of your record of battle, where can I speak. Really good stuff. But if you want to expand on everything as well, you can of course add to it. So you've got your names and your titles for instance your Mechanicus. So for instance, the first chart on this page is for your Skitarii Rangers or your Cataphron Destroyers, which are pretty cool models as well. So roll 2 d6s and you will be able to kind of combine their names. So a lot of numbers involved in here as well, and some unusual names. So like for instance, Gryphone Axis, if that's pronounced right. But yeah, really unusual. But you can get some really good stuff which adds to your game, which is the main thing with it. You can also name your tech priest as well, so you can only kind of build up and ready for them. So you roll in a d33, which is obviously your d6s, you roll 2 of them, and depending on how you're going about doing it, you can kind of sort it out that way. So you can have, for instance, Locator Supreme, or Sage of Mars, or even Guardian of the Arcane, which actually sounds like a pretty cool name, I'm not gonna lie. So you can get that. You can also get your Adeptus Mechanicus maniple epithets as well, so depending on how you want to name your different kits and everything like that as well. So really good stuff. A lot going on with it, pretty cool, and definitely worth a read as well. Then we have more information about the Adeptus Mechanicus. So this is your lore page, the first lore page about the Adeptus Mechanicus as well. So, the Adeptus Mechanicus wield strange and arcane technological weapons of phenomenal power. They prize knowledge above all things, and without a second thought they will shed oceans of blood, both the enemies and their own, in the endless crusade for its acquisition. So they are the disciples of the machine god, so while they have kind of bent the knee to the Emperor, they also don't really worship him as a god, they actually worship the machine god. So formed on the planet of Mars, and kind of spread out onto different forge worlds from there, and they are well known for creating some pretty damn cool weapons as well. So really good stuff. So you have a bit of detail as well, so for the Skitarii, with a pretty cool bit of artwork for the Skitarii as well, and the Cult Mechanicus on here as well, which is also really cool stuff. So the Cult Mechanicus is the official religion of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and they worship the divine trinity of the machine god, the Omnicia, and the motive force. So they are very technological based, and not as kind of religion based as you may think, but they are kind of a very heavily religious kind of cult at the same time. Then we get a story of the Crimson Dune. So this is the legions of the Novak dynasty have emerged from a hidden Dolem gate and descend upon the imperial world of Volfan. Crusade fleet Primus has responded to the world's cries for help, dispatching an entire cohort of Adeptus Mechanicus warriors to confront the invading foes. So this is a story mainly going of the Adeptus Mechanicus going up against the Necron forces as well. So the Novak dynasty being in red as well. It's pretty cool. And it's a pretty decent story. It's a pretty good one as well, so definitely worth having a read through. Now, your Skitarii Rangers, your how to build guide. So this how to build guide, very simple. A few little fiddly bits, so you are going to want to make sure you get everything right. They will be on 25mm bases, which are your smallest bases pretty much for the good old 40k. Now, you will of course have extra components which can be used later on for different bits and pieces, so we can kind of have a little bit of a play with them and make them look pretty cool. This is how you'll build pretty much everything on here. Of course though, you haven't got all the bits for everything, so once you've got the second sprue next week, we'll be able to build the entire lot and get going with it, which will be pretty cool. Then we have our data sheets. So this is giving us a data sheet for the Primaris Lieutenant and the Assault Intercessor Squad and their power and stuff like that as well. Pretty cool stuff. Adding more and kind of expanding your roles, rules and everything like that as well. You have your tutorial on the backside of it as well, expanding how you're going to be able to play the game and incorporate more of the kind of the core rules to the game and expand as well, which is always really, really good. We also have a data sheet for the Overlord and Necron warriors here as well, and their kind of tutorial rules as well, including Resurrection Orb, for instance, and the Necron's command phase being dished out here. And then we have our playthrough. So our playthrough is not including the Skitarii Rangers this time, but we have our Primaris Lieutenant and Assault Intercessors at unit of 5 going against the Overlord and 10 Necron warriors on your reverse side of the new battle mat. So pretty cool stuff. You can get some objective markers out there if you need to as well. Make sure you've got some wound markers as well, so you can kind of keep a track of everything. But essentially it's going to be a big firefight. You can have a lot of fun with it, but really, really good stuff and a pretty cool playthrough at the same time. With this issue as well, we also get a pull-out section for the war zone of the Pariah Nexus, which is detailing more of what we've been learning about, which is essentially the light in the darkness. So the Pariah Nexus, of course, is split up into different sections of the void, and so you have a lot of the different kind of listings of certain areas and specific planets. So for instance, Terra and Mars, Risa, Catachan, and even think places like good old Agrax, as well as good old Rin's World, for instance, all listed on here, so you can kind of get a glimpse of what the universe looks like. And then of course we also have other bits and pieces listed on here, including the information about the Indomitus Crusade, the Necron forces, the Imperial forces, which is of course your Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas, and the Adeptus Mechanicus. So the Adeptus Sororitas we will be getting later on, which will be really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to getting them. So the very cool Space Marine-ish women, which will be pretty damn cool, and I'm really, really looking forward to them. But yeah, really, really good stuff. A lot of stuff in the issue. Of course, next week we get the second part of our Skitarii Rangers, so we'll be able to build them all up, and it will kind of give you the painting tutorial for them as well. Entirely up to you if you want to follow the painting tutorial. I probably won't, and I think I have a colour combination in mind that I will use instead. And then issue 23 we get the Canatech Spider, which is a pretty cool model as well, pretty big, chunky, and a pretty good boy, which will be quite fun to build, I think, as well. But that's it from me. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.